Okay guys, let's roll. I've got a bit of a script, I'll be reading from it. Not very well I expect, but let's see if I can get the message across. The image on the back, we'll come to that at the end. Anybody recognize it? I know some of you do, and you know the truth of it. Okay, today with all this talk of war going on, we better have a look at this. We're going to take a look at a tactic that has been used in history to manipulate public perception and justify major political or military actions, the false flag attack. Most of you will know this already, but for those who don't, false flag is a covert operation designed to appear as though it's been carried out by another party, usually to frame them for a crime or to create a pretext for conflict. It's a strategy that's been used in various forms by governments, intelligence agencies, and military powers throughout history. So let's start then by understanding what a false flag attack is and then dive into two notable examples. The Gulf of Tonkin, I remember that one well, and the Lavon Affair, perhaps one of the most famous false flag attacks ever. It was thwarted, I believe. So what exactly is a false flag attack? Well, a definition of false flag operation typically involves disguising the true identity of the attacker. This tactic is used to create the illusion that an enemy nation or group has committed an aggressive act, often to rally public support or justify military retaliation. It can also be used to sabotage political opponents or sway public opinion by staging an event or creating the perception of a threat. Although the term false flag has become more common in modern discussions, it has its roots in naval warfare, where ships would fly the flag of another nation to trick enemies into lowering their guard. Over time, the concept evolved into more sophisticated political maneuvers. If I recall, the Germans used a false flag attack to justify their invasion of Poland. But let's have a look. Notable example number one, and I was around when this happened, the Gulf of Tonkin Incident. This was a doozy. One of the most famous examples of a false flag event is the Gulf of Tonkin Incident, which helped escalate the Vietnam War. I was out in the Far East during the Vietnam War. The Australians were fighting, the New Zealanders were fighting, and the Americans. And I was that naive. I used to apologize when I'd meet them in the bars. And I felt ashamed that my country, the United Kingdom, wasn't fighting with our American cousins and our brothers from New Zealand and Australia. Why was I wrong? I can even remember some of the songs. Hold on. Wish I was out of this land so rotten, bad times they should be forgotten. Get away, get away, get away, Vietnam. In Vietnam, where I was torn early on one foggy morning. Get away, get away, get away, Vietnam. God, I hadn't thought of that song for years. Anyhow, onwards. In August 1964, the US Navy reported that its ships had been attacked by North Vietnamese torpedo boats in the Gulf of Tonkin. The US used this incident to justify the passage of the Gulf of Tonkin Resolution, which gave President Lyndon B. Johnson the authority to use military force in Vietnam. He knew who killed President Kennedy. However, declassified documents later revealed that the second attack, which was the basis for the resolution, may never have occurred. The US government had exaggerated or misrepresented the events to the American public, creating a pretext for deeper military involvement in Vietnam. It wasn't until decades later that the full scope of the Gulf of Tonkin deception was revealed. show how a fabricated or misreported incident could lead to massive geopolitical consequences. Yeah. Pause. Just decided to pass on what I was thinking. Another notable example of a false flag attack, and this is a famous one, is the Lavon Affair. This happened in 1954. This was an Israeli covert operation in Egypt where a group of Egyptian Jews recruited by Israeli military intelligence were tasked with planting bombs at American, British and Egyptian targets. The aim was to frame Egyptian communists and cause diplomatic tensions between Egypt and the West. Yeah. At that time, the Israelis had killed about just under 1,000 British soldiers. We won't go into how some of them died. That plan failed and the operatives were arrested. The incident became a huge scandal leading to a cover-up. Israel initially denied any involvement, but years later documents and testimonies confirmed that the Israeli government was behind the plot. The Lavon Affair remained a sensitive issue in Israel for years, and the consequences of the attack rippled through the political landscape, affecting both Israeli and Egyptian relations in the Middle East. But it didn't stop the Americans continue to give billions of dollars every year to Israel. Strange, isn't it? Oh well, politics. Anyhow, so why do governments use these false flag attacks? Typically, false flag operations are carried out to create a pretext for war or justify actions that would otherwise be unpopular. Governments can use these tactics to shift public opinion, rally national support, or demonize an adversary. In both the Gulf of Tonkin and Lavon Affair, these events were designed to rally support for military action that otherwise might not have received approval. False flag operations are also used to disrupt political movements or manipulate domestic policies under the guise of foreign aggression. In many cases, the success of a false flag depends on the ability to control the narrative, making it difficult for the public to distinguish between real threats and manufactured ones. You might have an idea now as to why I put the recent poll up in our community posts about false flag attacks. Nations are more than capable of sacrificing not just tens but hundreds of their own citizens. If it can aid the government, they'll sacrifice those lives. They've done it before and they'll do it again. Question everything. Israel's notorious for doing it to gain sympathy. Modern implications. False flag operations, although most famous in the context of wars, are still relevant today. While they may not always involve direct military action, the concept has evolved into modern disinformation campaigns and cyber operations. You see it on the internet all the time, don't you? Governments, organizations, and even individuals can manipulate media and social networks to create false narratives or frame enemies in ways that have global consequences. We saw this with the speech that Donald Trump made, didn't we? Yeah, where the BBC spliced the two parts of tape together to create a narrative that was completely opposite of what President Trump was really saying. Anyhow, the advent of the internet and social media has made it easier to spread false information quickly, making it harder to discern truth from fiction. It's important for us as consumers of news to be critical of what we read, hear, and understand the potential for manipulation on all levels. Almost done, guys. Conclusion. False flag attacks from history to the present serve as a reminder that the truth can be obscured by those in power, whether it's the Gulf of Tonkin or the Lavon Affair. These operations show us the lengths to which governments will sometimes go to create a narrative and justify military or political actions. Understanding these tactics is crucial for making sense of past conflicts and staying aware of the manipulations that can shape our perception of current events. Anyhow, now we can go back to the image. You know what it is, don't you? You know. It's the USS Liberty, 1967. Never forget Israel's attack on the USS Liberty. America and Israel investigated it. I've researched this heavily. I really have. It was Israel, yeah. They'll never admit to it, but they paid billions in compensation to America and to the families of those who died. Let's have a look what Dean Rusk, the US Secretary of State at the time of the incident, wrote. I was never satisfied with the Israeli explanation. Their sustained attack to disable and sink Liberty precluded an assault by accident or some trigger-happy local commander. Through diplomatic channels, we refused to accept their explanations. I didn't believe them then, and I don't believe them to this day. The attack was outrageous. Yes. Yes, it was. 1967. Was it the 7-Day War, 6-Day War? Israel wanted America to step in and assist them. The tragic thing about this is not just the number of Americans who died there, but it was what the Israelis did to the survivors in the water when they machine gunned the lifeboats, torpedo boats. It was air and sea attack on the USS Liberty. And, well, the torpedo boats machine gunned the lifeboats. And still, America gives them billions in dollars in aid, because they're our greatest friend in the Middle East, aren't they? Okay, guys, you all know all about false flag attacks. You've been listening to the Green Arrow, Paul Morris, saying, see you tomorrow. No, see you on the beach. Why not?